What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I want to break down what's happening with the economic calendar going into tomorrow, what's happening with the news involving NIO, what you should be watching for on all these different charts. But before I begin to double this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moo with the link down below and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon. Anyways, for NIO, I noticed that this thing was on a bit of a downtrend for the last couple of weeks, and we saw this thing fall all the way down to about 4.8. Ever since we hit 4.8, you guys could see that in the past, when NIO hit 4.8, we got a nice bounce off the charts, and we hit 4.8 last week. We've held that support so far. We're currently at 4.9. So there is some signals out there that NIO is trying to kind of like base around here. In order for this to continue, we have to see a follow through moving. We have to see a clean break and close above $5. If we could achieve that, there is going to be a sign that NIO could try to bounce a bit more from here. But so far, we're not really getting that, especially as the market kind of cooled off at the very end of the day. So I'd say that it's best for NIO to just be watching this resistance just to see how things go and just look at the overall trends, which I'll talk about in just a couple of minutes. Let me first talk about some data. So for tomorrow, it's going to be Tuesday, March 26th. We have some important data coming out. So basically, 30 minutes after the market opens, we have the consumer confidence report, some manufacturing and services numbers coming out from the Dallas Fed services sectors. And we also have some bill auctions at 11:30 a.m. So at 10 o'clock a.m., look for some manufacturing numbers. 10:30 a.m., look for some services numbers. Then at 11:30, we'll look for some bill auctions. That's going to cause some volatility in the markets. I think between 10 and 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, there might be some high volatility. Then besides that, everything else is very, very minor. Now, this week, do not forget that the market is going to be closed on Friday for Good Friday, despite the fact that we have PCE coming out and Jerome Powell's speech. I also want to note that a lot of people are going on vacation this week because of the holidays that have been coming up. And it's a very, very short trading week, so it might not be the craziest stuff. So we'll just have to see how things end up going. As far as SPY goes, I just want to remind you all that we have a pretty insane option chain for the end of the week. So the market is going to be closed on Friday. The option chain ends on Thursday, March 28th for the week. This is going to be the last trading day, excuse me, of the week. And we have a lot of these puts expiring, over 2 million puts and just under 400,000, a little bit more than 400,000 calls. So with a lot of puts expiring, we could end the week on a very, very strong note, but we'll have to see what happens as we approach like Wednesday and Thursday. Now, for NIO, we had a lot of news that came out for today. NIO is talking about their deliveries for the EL7. That's actually a very, very nice vehicle for them. It has a lot of potential, if anything. And we're going to be looking to see what else ends up coming out for it. So there have been a lot of great, athletes interested in this vehicle. I think that's great for NIO, especially as they're getting more exposure and more advertising potential thanks to that. So that's some great news. Let's hope that they continue to grow as a result of this. And then moving forward, despite that, we did have some negative news that came out for Tesla, NIO, and other stocks out there. Mizuho just slashed its price target on NIO. Rakesh, who's a very, very important analyst, downgraded, he downgraded his price target for NIO. He basically gave it a neutral rating. It used to be a buy from them. Now they're saying it's neutral. And they're actually giving a price target of about $5.50. That's very, very interesting considering we're at $4.98. So that's a bit of a downgrade from them. So we'll see how things go moving forward. On top of this, there's been some news that came out for Tesla as well. Rivian and NIO, they've all been hit by this downgrade. And one of the reasons behind this is because of more talks about EV demand slowing and other things like that. There's also been a lot of talk about how there could be more, potential difficulties coming out throughout the overall economy that get in the way for them, especially with these high interest rates. So I'm seeing a lot of talk by many different analysts about this. That's part of why we saw some downside for many of these different, stocks out there. So Mizuho downgraded NIO from a buy to a neutral rating. Price price ratio is dropping a bit, showing some weakness for NIO. And we tend to see some high volatility on Tuesdays, which tends to be a better day. Some of the strongest days of the week historically, as we're green about 55% of the time. But other days, in terms of like seasonality and such, the market, not just the market, but NIO tends to do a little bit better on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We tend to see more volatility at 11 o'clock a.m. and also during the final hour of the day. So we'll be watching to see if we see anything else changing from here. But that's all I'm seeing in terms of news and headlines. Volume for NIO is only about 56 million, still very close to average, not extremely high. and we're not really seeing much happening. It's just kind of like range bound. So what do I see for NIO? I do see some good signs. So we had this big falling wedge like structure. We could see an attempt to bounce from here because we're trying to base at 4.8. If we lose 4.8, I'm going to turn a lot more bearish and we could see much lower levels. But if you look at the chart, you will notice that it's trying to base very, very nicely at this level, and we've been testing this new resistance. We're also nearing a bullish cross on the 4-hour time frame, which suggests that this might actually try to push higher into the $5 area again. So I would say that, technically speaking, NIO does look like it could bounce, so long as there's no bad news that comes out. Maybe looking for a test of $5 and see if NIO could break this over the next couple of days. If we achieve that, that's going to be a very good sign, so we'll see how it goes. In addition to that, let's talk about a couple more tickers. We have Tesla, which is starting to gain some strength off this bullish, which also getting a bounce into after hours. So with this forming, we're going to be looking for a nice retest of this support going into tomorrow in an attempt to get higher back for a test of 175, which I think is very likely. Tesla's trying to rebound, looking a bit more bullish. Be careful with the news on Tesla. A lot of bad news has been coming out, but I do see potential for this to push a little higher and closer to 175 or so. So we're going to be looking for a test of 175 at the least. I do think that Tesla's going to test that. It looks a bit more bullish to me, and we'll see how it goes from there. For Nvda, Nvidia has been on a bit of an uptrend. It's holding support at this 950 area. We could see it grab liquidity at 944 and then try to bounce and make its way back up to 965. But the chart's overall on a very, very nice uptrend, holding up very, very well. So it could, technically speaking, come down a bit, retest 944 and start bouncing, pushing back up towards 960. The chart's looking bullish. It's looking good so far. And we'll see if this could continue from this trend. I also want to add that I think I could actually call out this support right here, which is where this white trend line is. As long as we're above this, we're still on an uptrend. So Nvidia is showing strength. For SPY, just as a reminder, SPY is kind of like stuck right now. We have this bull flag like structure, been going back and forth and back and forth. We're kind of shopping in this 520 area. If we lose 520 again, there could be a move all the way down to about 519, which is where this yellow trend line happens to be. And if we lose this, we could come down to this 517.5 area. But even if we do test this, I'll be watching to see if we get a big bounce or not. And that's like the more like bearish case. The bullish case is we try to break out of this white trend line, push to 522 plus. It's very hard to read because SPY is very stuck right now. It's just range bound. So as of right now, we're just going back and forth and back and forth. We may continue to do so with a little pop and then drop for some time. But watch and see which way we break for the time being. Same thing can be said about the QQQ. What's good about the QQQ is we're gaining some strength as we got this nice liquidity grab. So watch and see, do we come down one more time to retest 444 and then try to break out, or do we end up sinking right here? This chart does have potential in my opinion, but we're still range bound, so watch and see. Watch 444 is support, 446 is resistance. We've been stuck going back and forth and back and forth. My guts tells me though that it's going to likely break out later, whether we come down first and then get a break to the upside, or we just break out from here. I still see potential in the QQQ. For Apple is trying to base, it got some big downside after the news came out about the European Union opening another investigation. And with that being said, I mean, we have this bullish divergence forming on Apple, so there's a very good chance we could get a bounce, which could help the markets. Are we going to come down one more time and then try to rebound, or will we rebound from here? Watch and see if we could break 172. If we do break that, we'll have to see if that ends up being the big resistance. So I'll be watching for this. We'll see how this goes, guys. And with that being said, I just want to thank you all so much for listening. So have a great day. I'll see you guys very soon on the next one, and peace out.